In 1676, they burned down the town of Jamestown, Virginia, and I was speaking on a I was speaking at the Midwest Decarbonization Conference in November 2022, and I was on a panel discussion with Native Americans and African Americans, and we were talking about a shared experience, but we were also dealing with the fight for reparations for African Americans and the fight to get Native American treaties enforced. And you know, one of the problems is that when we to really understand reparations and repairing the damage of a legacy of Jim Crow segregation, slavery, redlining, housing discrimination, things like this, you have to understand the laws and policies that were put in place that brought you to where you are, that continue to inflict the harm. Okay, reparations, the root concept is to repair damage that was done. We first have to analyze the damage that was done to African people, the laws and policies put in place. And as I say, as a historian of 31 years, as a student of Dr. Leonard Jeffries, Professor James Small, Professor Kaba Hiawatha Kamene, we also have to analyze who African people were and what African people had before we were put into an institution of slavery, to understand the damage that was done, to understand that what has to actually be repaired. Just thinking giving cash payments is repairing the damage of a legacy of slavery. No, it's not. Because if everybody watching this broadcast wants to be honest, we know damn well if we all got $1 million today, white people will have it all back by this time next week. And all the laws and policies that have maldistributed wealth, power, resources will continue to be in place that continue to inflict the harm. So cash payments can be part of a comprehensive repairing the damage of a legacy of slavery and Jim Crow segregation, etc. It can be part of comprehensive reparations, but it cannot only be the form of reparations, because once you spend the money, you have not changed the laws and policies that continue to inflict the harm. So to understand some of this history, what I did was during the panel discussion, I broke down briefly Bacon's Rebellion. And so many people, regardless of race, don't understand this history. Okay, so Bacon's Rebellion was triggered when a grant for Native American lands was denied. And there's a piece at blackpast.org that talks about Bacon's Rebellion, but also King Philip's War, which was a Native American uprising as well. But the origins of Bacon's Rebellion rested with the conquest of the Powhatan Indian Confederation, 1644-1646, and the Confederation's lands being distributed to the English planter class, Despite their defeat, Indians formerly associated with the Confederation continued squatting on these lands, which caused the Virginia colonists to engage in warfare against them. Okay, now, the military and political situation was made more complicated by the presence of African slaves, who, along with white indentured servants, produced the colony's main crop, which was tobacco. This is before cotton becomes king. Cotton is largely going to become king after 1793, after the cotton gin is created by Eli Whitney, which greatly reduces the cost to produce cotton. Before cotton was king in the colonies, tobacco was king, but also you're going to have sugarcane that's king as well. But at this point in time, tobacco was king. Okay, tobacco is the main cash crop. Now, planters looked down upon the African slaves, indentured servants, and landless freemen, both white and black, whom they called the Giddy multitude, G-I-D-D-Y, the Giddy multitude. So you had these different groups of oppressed people. You had African slaves, you had indentured servants, you had what we would call free African Americans, you had poor whites, and you had white indentured servants. During the decades of the 1650s and 1660s, a sizable number of indentured servants, both black and white, both African and European, who had completed their required indentured labor service clamored for old Powhatan land as well, which was under the control of Governor Berkeley, who was the governor of the Virginia colony, and his planter class associates. Nathaniel Bacon, a wealthy white Virginia planter, declared himself the leader of the colony's former indentured servants, freemen, African and white, African and European, newly arrived landless white immigrants from England, Scotland, or Ireland, and enslaved Africans, all of whom bonded together because of their common exploitation on the large tobacco estates in Virginia. All these different groups of people from different countries realized that they were all being oppressed by the same ruling class, and they took up arms to overthrow the ruling class. Now, on September 9, 1676, Nathaniel Bacon and his followers returned to Jamestown, Virginia, and battled forces loyal to Governor Berkeley. He forced Governor Berkeley and his followers to retreat, and then Nathaniel Bacon and his 500 rebels burned down the town of Jamestown, Virginia. They burned down the town of Jamestown, Virginia. Now, I don't know if this was the inspiration for the song, the roof is on fire. We don't need no water. Let this burn. I don't know if that was the inspiration for it, but it very well could be. Okay. I don't know that. I don't know if that's a historical fact. Okay. But it could be. Who knows? All right. Now, how many people remember that song? Okay. Now, let's go back to this here. Okay. So there's a good article from history.com, official website of the History Channel, that deals with Bacon's rebellion as well. And we reference numerous sources here in the class. Toward the end of the 17th century, labor from England began to diminish. So what happens is the economy in England improves, and there's less of a desire of white people to come from England to be indentured servants here in the colonies. So you have a drying up of the labor force, of the white labor force, okay? Toward the end of the 17th century, toward the end of the 1600s, labor from England began to diminish, and the colonies were faced with two major dilemmas. The colonies were faced with two major dilemmas. The first dilemma was how to maintain control over the restless poor and the freedmen who seemed intent on the violent overthrow of the colony's leaders, because they were all being oppressed by the same ruling class, the same 1% or 10%. Okay. The second dilemma that the colonists in control, the planter class, the rulers, the second dilemma that they were dealing with was how to obtain a controllable labor force as cheaply as possible. The colonial leaders found a solution to both problems. By the 1690s, they had divided the restless poor into categories reflecting their origins, homogenizing all Europeans into a quote unquote white category and instituting a system of permanent slavery, or what we call chattel slavery. You are enslaved for perpetuity, and your children are born in slavery and their children are born in slavery. So they use the term white widespread to put all Europeans into this one category and put them on team white. Okay. And then they instituted a system of laws to institute permanent slavery for Africans. The most vulnerable, and the Africans were the most vulnerable members of the population. Okay. Now, Encyclopedia Britannica at Britannica.com, they have information on the history of the idea of race. This is where this citation comes from. The history of the idea of race. That's at Britannica.com, Encyclopedia Britannica. Hopefully you learned a lot today, and be sure to register for the online history classes that I teach on Saturdays and Sundays. Saturdays, normally 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I teach ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa. Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Visit our website, TheAfricanHistoryNetwork.com, TheAfricanHistoryNetwork.com, to register for the online classes. And right on the homepage, scroll down, you see information about our radio show. We're on Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We broadcast on our social media platforms. My class is Ancient Kemet, one of the original names for Egypt, the Moors, and the Ma'afa. Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. We deal with thousands of years of history and what leads up to the Transatlantic Slave Trade taking place, okay? So you can join us Saturday, October 7th and 14th. And 21st and 28th, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have a couple of videos here you can watch as well. To the previews. The class is on sale $80, regularly $130. We do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. Actually, we dropped the price to $60. So on sale $60, regularly $130. We do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. You can go back and watch them anytime. Okay. So even after the class is over with, you still have access. So a year from now, 2 years from now, you can go back and watch the entire course. Sundays, I teach Black resistance movements from the Haitian Revolution, U.S. Civil War, Civil Rights Movement, and Black Power Movement, 1800 to 1968. So we're going to have another session of this class coming up October 14th. Okay. Sunday, October 15th. We'll have another session of this class coming up Sunday, October 15th. So as soon as you register, you can go watch the previous classes. As soon as you register, you can go back and watch the previous classes, and you'll be ready to join us Sunday, October 15th. Also, if you'd like to stop for information, you can support the African History Network, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show. This helps us keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting, pay some of the bills. All right, we have to get out of here. Remember, right now it's correct wrong behavior is not over till we win. Wakanda